Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Marguerite here. Welcome back to another video by yours truly, slash toy review video by yours truly. Today we have yet another Beyblade review, if you couldn't tell by the title, and this time we have a dual pack review. Yes, this is our first Beyblade Burst Quad Drive dual pack. Today we are taking a look at one that I actually pre-ordered. I rarely ever pre-order Beyblade stuff, but for this one, man, I just had to have it. This is the dual pack, right, for Quad Drive, one of the early ones. In this case, this one features Vanish Cobra C7 and the brand new Hasbro exclusive Katana Muramasa M7. Can we just take a minute to just admire how freaking awesome that name is? Katana Muramasa, I love that name. And that name alone and just the design, as you can see right here, that's Katana Muramasa right there. Oh my god, it's so cool. So, we're gonna quickly spin around here to the back, because I think you guys already know what's going on with the front. So, let's flip over to the back. The back here, of course, has your regular stats. So in the upper corner here, we have Katana Muramasa M7, stamina type right, has all the parts labeled, well, yeah, most of them labeled, and the sort of CG renders of all the parts. Then, of course, you have Vanish Cobra C7, defense type. A lot of pieces here that are returning and a couple new stuff, both recolors and just new parts in general. But yeah, really nice looking dual pack. So, without further delay, let's go into the part by part, starting with the throwaway Beyblade, as I like to call it. Not necessarily, but anyway. Here it is with Vanish Cobra. So this is the Cobra chip that we saw before, the DB core slash the drive chip. We've seen this before. Now it's recolored in this beautiful blue, green, and a little bit of gold, just like the older one. The only problem is that unlike the original Cobra, which let me get my little stand out here, so that way we can do this comparison. I'm just trying this out using this little stand to kind of do like comparison. So here you have the, hold on, let me see if I can get this to work. It's a bit slapdash, but bear with me. So here is the original core here on the left. Now on the right, we have the original Cobra core slash Hydra core slash drive chip. And you guys can see definite glaring issues here. I don't know why they decided to go cheap with the paint, unlike with the first one that was released with Wrath Cobra, the single release starter, whatever. But you know, at least they did good on the first one. Sad the second one isn't as good looking. I mean, it still is decent, but man, they could have really benefited from painting these green like they should have been. On the back, of course, you do have the QR codes. That way you can scan Cobra, Vanish Cobra specifically, into your Beyblade Burst mobile app. So that is a nice plus. Next up, of course, we get the blade, which is Vanish. Focus, Vanish. Now, Vanish, obviously, we've seen this before with Vanish Fafnir, which we will do a quick comparison here in a minute. But you're going to see quickly some notices. First and foremost, some noticeable differences, right? First and foremost, the gold heads on the original Vanish release are now just solid green plastic. They aren't painted anymore. And the whole pieces here are now painted in this sort of yellowish color. Kind of reminds me of like snake heads now, which I guess kind of fits with the whole like dragon idea with the slash snake reptilian idea to it, sort of, right? Yeah, of course on the back, massively hollowed out as you would expect. But yeah, so for a quick comparison, here we have the recolor of Vanish next to the original version of Vanish that we got with Vanish Fafnir, F7. So you guys can see how those two look together. Yeah, I definitely prefer this one over this one. Definitely. Both of them look pretty solid, but obviously both of them really could have benefited from more paint. But that being said, they're both pretty solid, so I can't complain too much with that. Next up is the Gravity Ring slash Armor, which is, I believe it has another stupid code name to it. Yep, G05. That's what this one's called. And this is, I believe, a Hasbro exclusive armor slash gravity ring. And yeah, this one's not anything really to write home about. Kind of reminds me of the Infinite disc from Zillion Zeus. But other than that, it could have been way better. So once you put your layer together, snapping in the core, and attaching in the weight, gravity ring, slash armor, on the bottom, there you have your full layer of Vanish Cobra slash Vanish Hydra. Not bad looking. Not bad looking at the at the very least. At least for Hasbro standards. Next up, of course, we do get the Forge disc, which is a new Hasbro exclusive Forge disc, which is called Digron. And yeah, this is the first time we've seen Digron. I believe Digron first appears on Gilded Baldurov, which I don't have yet. But oh man, does this look good? My only issues with it is that first and foremost, it kind of looks a bit, despite it's almost like a shell, almost sort of design to it. It's massively hollowed out, and it's fairly small too, so you can't really see much of the detail on it because of all the silver and the lighting. And I don't know why, but despite the fact that it's spelled with a G, like Digron, it's spelled here with the initials DQ, which now makes me question, was it originally supposed to be Diquan or Dicron, spelled with a Q, or Digron? I don't know. Somebody must have, either that or maybe they couldn't put the full G there like they were supposed to. I don't know. Really weird that it almost looks like a DQ despite the fact it's spelled with a G, but alright. So there you have that. Next up is, of course, the driver and the armor tip. So, of course, the normal driver is Assault. And we've seen Assault before, Assault Quad Drive. We've seen this before. And, yeah, it's now just in this almost pearl gold color, as compared to the original one that we got on Cyclone Ragnarok, which was this bright banana yellow. So there you go. So there is that. Next up, you get the armor tip, which is Defense. Defense we have seen before on Wrath Cobra, except now it's blue rather than red. Only difference. So once you put your Beyblade together, of course, putting in the armor tip, make sure you lock it right. Put on your Digron disc and put on your Vanish Cobra layer. There you will have your full combo of Vanish Cobra / Vanish Hydra. All in all, not a bad combo. Could have benefited from more paint. Could have benefited from, having the proper gimmicks in it, like Takara Tomy has, sorry. But, is what it is. So moving that one out of the way, and we are going to do comparisons here in a little bit, we're going to go into the next part by part, but before we do, we have a bit of jump cutting to do, so give me like 2 seconds. Jump cut. Alright, and we're back. So let's continue with the review as normal. Sorry for the jump cut. Let's go into the part by part of course, the main reason you're getting this release is, of course, for Katana Muramasa. So first up, of course, is the DB core / drive chip, which is Muramasa. And this thing looks cool. I love Muramasa. This is probably one of the better cores, as Muramasa is, of course, based after the Japanese swordsmith Muramasa. So that is pretty cool. And looks really cool. Again, love the black sort of helmet design with the fierce sort of scowl he has going on. And the sort of pearl, almost white plastic for the core. Looks great. Again, here's the QR code so you can scan the Beyblade into the game. Beyblade's mobile app. And it looks just, all in all, this core is just really nice. And again, for a Hasbro exclusive, I'm surprised they did nearly as much paint as they did. My only problem, of course, and this goes for all of Quad Drive releases, and of course, as far back as Hypersphere, what are these holes here for? Honestly, why are they there? They just ruined the design. If the holes weren't there, this thing would look glorious. But anyway, just you know, twice as glorious as it does with the holes there. But you know, anyway, just a minor complaint. So next up here, of course, is the blade, which is Katana. And I do like Katana. I think it looks cool. I do like the Japanese katakana kanji on the sword blade, on the katana blade, right? Looks really nice. Again, love the sort of look, almost like clawed hands on the hilt, because for those who don't know, Muramasa was known in mythology to have forged cursed sword katanas, like cursed blades. So it kind of looks almost cursed in a way, because they have like this almost evil hand gripping the blade on both sides. Looks really nice. And I do like the silver for it as well, and the sort of black paint for the fingers there. But yeah, it just looks great. My only problem, once again, it's hollowed out, and more than likely this was probably intended to be metal originally, but of course that obviously isn't going to happen knowing Hasbro. And I also, despite the fact that this is supposed to be a stamina type release, why does it have such an aggressive downward sort of angle for the katana blades? I don't understand that, but you know, looks pretty cool. And again, combined with Muramasa, the core, it makes it look even better. Love to see what Hasbro can do with recolors, if they decide to do that. Next up, of course, is the Gravity Ring, which is G12. Yep, once again, there's no proper name for this, just G12. Looks pretty alright. Do like the sort of details on it, with the sort of almost look like heavily, like heavy armor on it. And again, it has sort of like these almost what look like carvings or some sort of inscriptions on the armor / gravity ring. Sorry, not blade. You know, could have benefited from metal again, from having it being metal stickers / just details in general. But you know how Hasbro is. So there is that. And of course, once you combine the layer together. And of course, get it all like that. There you have your full layer of Katana Muramasa. Again, just looks cool. Love this design. Probably one of Hasbro's best exclusive designs, because remember guys, this is a Hasbro exclusive, so if you want this Beyblade, you gotta get it through Hasbro. Takara's not selling this currently for their toy line, so that does suck. Next up is the Forge Disc, which again does not have a proper name to it. It's just known as QQ Quad Drive. Kind of looks like futuristic, this sort of detailing here, but it also has what almost looks like samurai armor on it, which does look pretty cool, like these little guard pieces. Looks pretty nice. Again, my only problem, it's hollowed out, and the size is rather small. And once again, there's no proper name. It doesn't have. I would have loved if this thing got a proper name, but unfortunately, it doesn't. At least not at the time of this writing. Of course, feel free to correct me if it actually does have a name. Same with any other Forge discs that I've reviewed in the past for these Quad Drive releases that have names, and I just somehow didn't find them when I was doing my research looking for these names, right? So next up, of course, is the performance tip / driver plus the armor tip. So the driver, of course, is Mobius Quad Drive. And yeah, compared to the original Mobius, this is a far cry from the original Mobius. The original Mobius had the gimmick of the free spinning plate, which allowed it to have increased stamina and as well as, better defense, right? And unfortunately for this one, it doesn't do that. And once again, it looks like a futuristic pencil eraser. And it's modeled in this almost like a grape purple color, which I think nicely complements the gold, the white, and the silver and the black. I think it complements it very nicely, despite the fact that it probably shouldn't work, but somehow Muramasa makes it work. Lastly, of course, is the armor tip, which is Rise. Rise we saw originally on Wizard Fafnir, and unfortunately here, once again, just like the Hypersphere version, Yeah, this is a far cry from the original. The original, of course, had the free spinning plastic disc that would help to protect it against oncoming attacks, or combinations against oncoming attacks, and help to improve stamina. Unfortunately for this one, obviously, no free spinning plate, none of that. But you do have the sharp tip, though, of the original, so that is nice. I will give it that. And again, it's modeled in this sort of grape purple color. So once you put your combination all together, there you have your full combination of Katana Muramasa. Again, one of my favorite Hasbro exclusives for Quad Drive, and I might even go as far as to say this might be my favorite Hasbro exclusive design, just period, because it's just so darn cool looking. I love this thing's design, and when I first saw this get revealed, by, of course, other Beyblade YouTubers, you know, Zanky, Ilanuk, that sort of thing, I knew I had to pick this Beyblade up. Despite the fact that, yes, it is Hasbro, it obviously is going to have, you know, nerfs to it and modifications, this thing is still just so darn cool. So now let's get into the modes for both Beyblades, of course starting with Muramasa here. So right now, Katana Muramasa here. So first up is of course the Core Plus mode, which he's already in. So now let's do the Apex Plus mode. You guys already know how this works. Pop out the armor. Pop out the core. Do a little bit of this. A little bit of that. And then click it all together, just like you would normally. Make sure not that the armor tip doesn't come off, and make sure you don't break anything, obviously. And there you have the Apex Plus mode. Again, from the top, this thing looks great. The blades are now shifted slightly backwards, allowing for a more aggressive looking design. And it kind of looks more like an attack type now. And you also have the armor, which is now front and center, and it looks great. It's a really nice accent with the blades in the silver, right, and the pearl sort of white color, and the sort of pearl color that this Beyblade uses. And of course, you now have this sort of ugly gap, but thankfully the disc does help to fill it in. But yeah, there you go. So now we're going to do the core and the Apex modes, now without the armor tip. So now this Beyblade changes from stamina to defense type. Sorry, I almost said that backwards. I almost said defense to stamina. No, it's stamina to defense, dummy. So here you have the Apex mode without, or slash the high mode without the armor tip. Looks about right. Once again, the only modification is, of course, now it's a different tip, and the height has changed a little bit because the armor tip obviously is now removed. Now to move into the core mode without the armor tip. Pretty easy to do. Just swap these pieces around. Make sure you don't break anything. And boom! There you go. Katana Muramasa now with the armor tip off. Doesn't look bad. Pretty darn cool. Next we will go into the different modes of Cobra slash Hydra. Vanish Hydra. So first up, of course, is the Core Plus mode. Next, we're going to do the Apex Plus mode with the armor tip on, obviously. So, you know what to do at this point, guys. Just pop your armor off. Make sure, once again, not to break anything. God forbid. I'm not responsible for anybody breaking their Beyblades, obviously. And you just put the armor on like that. You do a little bit of this, and then click it all together, and boom! There you have him in his Apex Plus mode. Looks really, really nice. Again, Diagron has, you know, a bit of an ugly gap, but once again, the metal does try to fill that in, so that way it's just not a big ugly gap. But yeah, there you go. Now to move into both of the modes, the Apex and the Core modes, now without the armor tip. So, Apex mode without the armor tip. Looks a little something like this. Not too bad. And then, of course, you have the Core mode without the armor tip on. Pop that off. Swap that around. Click that in. Make sure to grab the armor that bounced off of the Beyblade. There. and try not to drop the armor like an idiot. And there you have Vanish Cobra / Vanish Hydra now in the core mode without the armor tip. Not bad at all. So now to attach back on the armor tip, which I don't know why they made it this bright blue color. I mean, it kind of meshes with the gold and the blue, but like, I don't know. It does look a bit garish on the driver at least. So now we are now going to, I don't know why I said it like that. Now we are going to go into comparisons. So we're going to start off with, of course, Wrath Cobra, the last Cobra-based release that we got in Beyblade Burst Quad Drive. And I think these two look great together. All in all, I think both of them complement each other nicely. My only complaint is that, despite how good both of them look, ultimately, we all know, Wrath Cobra would lose in a fight against Vanish here, because, for those who don't know, for right spin combinations, for quad drive, Assault Quad Drive is one of the best drivers to use because it has a nice tight spring, and it doesn't matter if the Beyblade's core has good slopes or not, it's going to make a nice tight seal, right? So it's going to be very difficult to burst, relatively speaking, if you're using that. So highly recommend using Assault Quad Drive on your combinations, especially if you want one combination that's attack type, and of course one that's going to resist bursts more. So highly recommend it. Next up here, we're going to do, you know what, let's do Cyclone Ragnarok, Cyclone Rocktivore. And I think these two look pretty darn good together. Once again, just the only difference, of course, being obviously the motif and the colors, and I think they look good together. Again, all of these quad drive releases, despite how garish some of their color schemes might be to some, they still go nice together as a nice cohesive little group of, right, Beyblades. Not bad. So next up here, of course, is going to be Vanish, right, Fafnir. The OG, if he'll actually sit right. There we go. So that way you can see how those two look together. Fafnir is just itching to get off of the stand. He does not like to sit nice in videos here. That's mostly just due to the kick driver. But yeah, I think these two look pretty darn good together. So, interesting to. I'm very interested to see how these two will stack up against one another. Very interested for that. And remove the wrong Beyblade from the stand here. Next up for comparison, we're going to bring in Dynamite Belial, Destruction Bellfire, everyone's favorite. Love this guy. And again, both of these two look great together, I feel. Though, once again, I'm slowly realizing here just how small Dynamite Belial is, because a Dynamite Blade is not that big. Despite how pictures may make it look slightly bigger than normal, it's not that big. And even on the Japanese version, it's not that big of a blade. So, for our next comparison, we're going to bring in Salvage Valtryek / Savior Valkyrie. And I think these two, once again, look pretty darn solid together. And I do like how the gold there is sort of like like a muted gold, almost an orangish gold, than it is like a bright gold like we have on Valkyrie. So, and once again, it kind of fits with the whole snake, dragon, sort of reptilian design to it. I think it looks great. Next up here is Guilty Longinus, Guilty Luinor, for comparison. And I think these two look pretty darn solid for what they are. And especially since both of them are left spins, very interested to see which is going to come on top. I'm expecting Guilty, actually, to win this battle between these two. Of course, if we were to battle them. But of course, as you guys know, we don't battle the Beyblades around here just because it would be too much of a pain to film. I know, sounds a bit, right? Sounds a bit like a cop-out, like, oh, you just don't want to film it, right? No, it's just, it would be a pain to film, not to mention the noise, good God. Believe it or not, Beyblades can be a whole lot noisier than one would expect. So, for comparison, we're now going to bring in Magma Ifrit, for comparison. And, yeah, I think these two look pretty darn good together. Again, Magma Ifriter, could have been leagues better than what we got, but who knows? Maybe Takara Tomy might release him, as there have been rumors that possibly Takara might be releasing Magma Ifrit as part of one of their ambassadors that they're doing now, since Beyblade doesn't have a cartoon series anymore. At least, at least for the time being, for Beyblade Generation 3. So, yeah, there is that. Now for Katana Muramasa, we're going to do some quick comparisons with him. We're not going to do all of the Beyblades here, but we are going to do select few. For our first comparison, you know what, let's bring in another pretty solid stamina type. Cyclone Cyclone Ragnarok, for comparison. Again, both of these two stamina types, I think, complement each other nicely. It's very nice to see Katana Muramasa here next to Ragnarok, as I think both of them, again, just look pretty darn solid together. Obviously, one is definitely a original character, right? Both of them are original characters, right? But you can definitely tell Ragnarok is, that orange really does make him stick out like a sore thumb. But I think that complements his design. I think, and especially with his owner in the anime, I think it complements him very nicely, actually. Next up is Savior Valkyrie / Salvage Valtryek. And again, these two look pretty darn solid together. The only thing that I find kind of weird is that Katana Muramasa is classified as a stamina type, despite the fact that with those large blades, it could easily become an attack type. But, of course, that is for me to test later on, and today at least, and see if it really could be used for attack type combinations, because I'm very curious to see if it can do that. I think for our last comparison, let's bring in our tiny boy, Dynamite Belial, also known as Destruction Bellfire. So you guys can see how those two look together. And again, not a bad comparison by any means. But as I just said before, you can really get the idea as to how tiny Dynamite Belial is. He is a tiny, tiny baby compared to everybody else who's just slightly bigger, if not just almost looks like they could consume him like he's just just consume him for breakfast. So that's gonna be it for this review on the Beyblade Burst Quad Drive Dual Pack. Dual Pack featuring Vanish Fafnir and Katana Muramasa M7 and C7 respectively. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this one, please make sure to drop a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, and ring the notification bell so that you guys get notified for all my uploads. Later, Read Squad, and have a good one.